Today's lesson is all about multiplication by scaling. Okay, so our goal by the end of the video today is that you can interpret multiplication as scaling. We're going to review some vocabulary words that we've learned in the past. Factors and products. Factors are the numbers that you're multiplying together to get the product, which is the answer of a multiplication problem. Arrays and area models are both different types of models that we can use when multiplying. Repeated addition is a strategy that we use when multiplying sometimes. It's when you add a number that many times instead of actually multiplying it. And then a fraction greater than 1 is a fraction whose numerator is larger than the denominator, which means that it is greater than 1 whole, sometimes also called an improper fraction. All right, so let's get started. First of all, what is scaling? Scaling is creating the picture in your mind of the whole. In other words, when you multiply a fraction by a number less than 1, your product is going to be smaller. You are going to need to make sure that you have this statement in your notes right here. This is a very important rule that you're going to be using in the next 3 days worth of videos. So you need to know that when you multiply a fraction by a number less than 1, so if you're thinking about that, a number less than 1 is a fraction. So when you multiply a fraction times another fraction, your product is going to be smaller. I will show you an example of this in just 1 second, but you need to make sure that you have that rule written down. Pause the video if you need to. All right, so let's use that rule that we just talked about. 5/6 times 2/3. So first of all, we know that 5/6 and 2/3 are both fractions. All right, so I'm going to draw out an area model here just to show you an example of that rule that we just talked about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I have 6 pieces here on my model. And out of those 6 pieces, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I have 5 pieces here. Now, on this area model, I'm also going to represent 2/3 because 2/3 is my other fraction and I'm multiplying by that. So I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces and I have 2 out of those 3 pieces. So when I see here, I'm going to count what I have in red and blue, and because that's going to be what my answer is. So first of all, I need to know how many pieces do I have altogether? Well, I divided this into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I divided this into 18 pieces. And my number of pieces that are shaded in red and blue are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have 10 out of 18 pieces. So looking at this fraction here, 10/18, let me just simplify this really quickly so you can see. I can divide both of these numbers by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 18 divided by 2 is 9. Is 5/6 smaller or bigger than 5/9? Let's do our trick really quick. We learned. And so let's find the common denominator. I'm going to multiply these by the top and the bottom. So my equivalent fraction, 6 times 9 is 54. 5 times 9 is 45. 5 times 6 is 30. And 9 times 6 is 54. So I know that 45 54ths is greater than 30 54ths. So bringing it all the way back up here, 5/6 is going to be greater than 5/9. Now, what does any of this have to do with that rule that I just showed you? Well, remember, we went back to that slide that you wrote down. The rule was that when you multiply a fraction by another fraction, or a number less than 1, the product, which is the answer, is smaller. So in that fraction, we knew that 5/9 was smaller than 5/6, so our product was smaller than our fraction. So what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be looking at the expression, and using this rule that we just learned, we're not even going to be doing any of the work. We're not going to solve. All we're going to do is look at it and see if the product is smaller or greater than the fraction. All right, so let's do this one together. We have 2/3 times 1/3. Knowing our rule about a fraction times a fraction, is our product going to be greater or less than 2/3? Think about it for a second. Is our product going to be greater than or less than 2/3? Our product is actually going to be less than 2/3. Knowing that rule, we know that 2/3 is our original fraction. Our product is always going to be less than because we're multiplying it by another fraction. So let's multiply these together to see if we were correct. 2 times 1 is 2, and 3 times 3 is 9. So 2/9 is smaller or less than 2/3. We were correct. All right, so now we have a new rule here. This is a different one, and you are, same thing, going to need to make sure that you write this down in your notes. When you multiply a fraction by a number greater than 1, your product, or your answer, is going to be larger. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to so that you can make sure that you are getting this written down in your notebook. When you multiply a fraction by a number greater than 1, then your product is going to be larger. All right, so let's evaluate this expression right here. 1/2 times 2 and 1/3 equals, we'll figure that out. Now, before we even solve this, is our product going to be larger or smaller than 1/2? Well, we're multiplying our fraction times a number greater than 1. 2 and 1/3 is definitely greater than 1. So our product is going to be larger. So let's multiply that out and figure out what we get. All right, 1/2 times 2 and 1/3. Let's change this into a mixed number. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7 over 3. So 1/2 times 7/3 gives us 7/6, which is 1 and 1/6. So is 1/2 greater or less than 1 and 1/6? 1 and 1/6 is larger than 1/2. All right, so our video is done for today. You did a great job. Make sure that you go to Canvas and take the quiz. You need to know those two rules, that when a fraction times a fraction will give you a product that is smaller, and a fraction times a number greater than 1, your product is going to be larger. All right,